Good morning everyone. Today, I want to talk about something we all aspire to, something we see often in media. It's easy to believe that meditation is something only certain people can master. We see these images of calm, serene individuals sitting perfectly still with their minds completely clear. Maybe we feel like we've been missing out because we can't quiet the noise in our heads, or we feel like meditation just isn't for us. Perfection is a concept that has been deeply ingrained in our culture, often celebrated in the media and in our own internal narratives. We see it everywhere, from the flawless images of celebrities and influencers to the curated lives shared on social media. It can sometimes feel as if perfection is a destination that we are supposed to reach, especially in practices like meditation. When we hear about the perfect meditator, we picture someone sitting in a serene, still state, effortlessly holding a space of complete mental clarity. This image, though appealing, is far from the truth of what meditation is really about. In reality, perfection is not the goal of meditation, it is progress, not perfection, that matters. The myth of the perfect meditator can be a source of frustration for many. In fact, it's easy to get discouraged when we can't clear our minds, when we find ourselves fidgeting, or when we can't sit still for more than a few minutes. We often compare our own experiences to what we assume is the ideal, or an image shaped by the portrayal of the perfect meditator in the media, or even in the stories of those who seem to have mastered the practice. The truth is, the more we chase perfection in meditation, the further we distance ourselves from the true purpose of the practice. Meditation is not about achieving an unattainable state of perfect stillness or mental clarity. Instead, it is about progress. It's about meeting ourselves where we are in that moment, with all of our distractions, thoughts, and emotions. It's about sitting with whatever is present without judgment. Every time we step onto the meditation cushion, we begin a process of deepening awareness, learning how to notice our thoughts and feelings without becoming overwhelmed by them. The practice is an exploration of the mind, a space where we begin to observe the natural flow of thoughts and emotions, rather than trying to suppress them. The idea that meditation requires perfection is one of the most pervasive misconceptions about the practice. We are all human, and our minds are naturally restless. Distraction is a fundamental part of our experience. It's not a flaw or a failure, it's simply a part of being human. When we sit to meditate, our minds will inevitably wander, and the more we accept this as a natural part of the process, the more we can release the unrealistic expectation that meditation requires some level of mental purity or quiet. The act of noticing the distraction and gently bringing our focus back to the breath is itself an act of mindfulness and progress. That act of returning is the practice. It's not a failure, it's the essence of what meditation is all about. Each moment of distraction, each thought that arises, is an opportunity for growth. These moments invite us to become more aware of the patterns of our thinking, the habits of our mind. Rather than viewing distraction as a hindrance to the practice, we can see it as a doorway to deeper understanding. We begin to learn about the things that preoccupy us, the fears and desires that constantly pull our attention away. Through this awareness, we can start to untangle the knots that tie up our energy, allowing us to be more present and at ease with ourselves. The more we embrace the imperfections of meditation, the more we are able to show up authentically in each session. Instead of feeling like we need to force our minds into a perfect state of stillness, we can create space for whatever arises, whether it's a racing mind, a fleeting thought, a moment of deep stillness, or a wave of emotion. All of these are welcome. By freeing ourselves from the pressure of perfection, we give ourselves permission to simply be. We learn to trust that the practice doesn't need to look a certain way or feel a certain way. The true beauty of meditation lies not in achieving an idealized version of stillness, but in accepting and exploring the present moment with openness and compassion. When we let go of the myth of the perfect meditator, we create the possibility for deeper connection with ourselves. We stop comparing our experience to others or to some unattainable standard. Instead, we become fully engaged with our own journey, with all its imperfections, distractions, and moments of clarity. This is the power of meditation, and not in the achievement of perfection, but in the willingness to show up, to be present, and to grow through each experience, no matter how messy or imperfect it may seem. So, the next time you sit down to meditate and find your mind wandering, or feel frustration rising because you're not achieving that perfect state, remember this: it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Each moment, each distraction, and each return to your breath is a step forward. Embrace the imperfections, for they are an essential part of your meditation practice and your own growth. By doing so, you'll begin to see that there's no such thing as the perfect meditator, only the human being who is practicing, evolving, and learning to be at peace with themselves, one imperfect breath at a time. One of the most profound realizations we can come to in life is that perfection is not something we should chase. This truth is especially relevant when it comes to meditation. The idea of the perfect meditator as someone who can sit in perfect stillness, mind completely clear, unaffected by distractions, is a myth. While it might sound like the ideal, it's far from the reality of what meditation truly is. The beauty and the power of meditation lie not in perfection, but in vulnerability. It's in the rawness, the openness, and their willingness to sit with whatever emotions or thoughts arise during the practice. When we meditate, we are not aiming to be perfect, we are opening ourselves to what is true for us in that moment, whatever that may be. Meditation, at its core, invites us into a space of vulnerability. When we sit in silence, we create an environment where we have no choice but to face ourselves. It's in these moments of stillness that our emotions, fears, and insecurities tend to surface. Our minds, often conditioned to avoid discomfort, may present us with a torrent of thoughts that are far from calm or peaceful. Instead of seeing these moments of emotional turbulence as failures or signs that we're doing something wrong, we can learn to see them as opportunities to grow. In fact, it is these very vulnerabilities, are the moments of discomfort, restlessness, or emotional unease, that are the true sources of growth in meditation. Jay Shetty often speaks about how our vulnerabilities are not weaknesses but are instead powerful avenues for transformation. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we acknowledge the parts of ourselves that we often try to suppress or ignore. It is through this honesty with ourselves that we can begin to understand our deepest fears, desires, and emotional patterns. Vulnerability becomes the key that unlocks the door to personal growth. In meditation, this vulnerability comes to the surface naturally, and rather than running from it, we are invited to sit with it. It is through this process of confronting what we might otherwise avoid that we make room for deeper insights and healing. What makes meditation so powerful is that it doesn't require us to hide or mask these vulnerabilities. It gives us a safe space to embrace them. The practice of sitting with our emotions and thoughts, whether they are pleasant or uncomfortable, is a way of accepting ourselves as we are in that moment. Meditation becomes a mirror in which we see our most authentic selves, free of pretense, free of the expectations that we place on ourselves or that society imposes upon us. Rather than striving for some idealized version of a perfect meditator, we can focus on the more realistic and deeply transformative practice of showing up authentically. When we meditate with this openness to vulnerability, we move beyond the idea of doing it right or getting it perfect. We release the pressure to have a calm mind or to maintain complete stillness. Instead, we simply practice being present with whatever arises. The thoughts that come and go, the emotions that rise and fall, the moments of deep peace and the moments of restlessness, they are all part of the experience. And each one, whether it feels like progress or not, is valuable. Meditation, like many practices in life, is not about reaching a final destination or achieving an ultimate goal. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that meditation is something we must master, that there is some point at which we can say, "I've made it," and all of our distractions, frustrations, and struggles with the mind will disappear. But the truth is, meditation is not about reaching an endpoint, it's about the journey itself, or the act of showing up, engaging with the practice, and being present with whatever comes up along the way. The essence of meditation lies in the process, in the consistent commitment to the practice, and in the willingness to embrace both the small moments of clarity and the inevitable distractions. The journey of meditation is deeply personal. It's not about achieving perfection or quieting the mind completely. Instead, it's about developing a relationship with our thoughts, our emotions, and our inner selves. Meditation allows us to observe our thoughts without becoming consumed by them. It's in this active observation that we learn to detach from the constant stream of mental chatter and cultivate a sense of presence in the moment. But the key here is consistency. The practice is not about how well we perform during any given session, but rather how regularly we show up and engage with it. Jay Shetty often speaks about the importance of creating a relationship with meditation, one that is not about expecting perfection or immediate results, but about nurturing a connection with the present moment. Meditation should not feel like a chore or something to be perfected, but rather an integral part of our lives, an opportunity to reconnect with ourselves and cultivate balance, peace, and clarity. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to be the perfect meditator, but that's a false notion. The truth is, meditation is a practice that evolves over time. It is through showing up day after day, regardless of how we feel or what's going on in our minds, that we begin to experience the true benefits of meditation. In meditation, there are moments of deep clarity, those brief moments when the mind feels still, the thoughts fade, and there's a sense of peacefulness and connection. These moments, however fleeting, are not the goal of the practice but a natural part of the journey. They serve as reminders of what is possible when we engage with the practice and let go of the pressure to force a specific outcome. They are the gentle rewards for our commitment to showing up, even when the practice feels challenging or when we find ourselves distracted. It is the journey of seeking these small moments of peace that brings transformation over time. And then, of course, there are the inevitable moments of distraction, frustration, and even self-doubt. These are often the moments when we feel like we're doing it wrong or that meditation isn't working for us. But in reality, these moments are just as valuable as the moments of clarity. They are a natural part of the process. Each distraction, each moment of restlessness, is an opportunity to learn about ourselves, our patterns, our habits, and the ways in which our minds tend to wander. Meditation teaches us that it's okay to be human, that it's okay to have moments of struggle, and that these moments don't define our practice. Instead, they are simply part of the ongoing journey. This is where the true power of meditation lies, in the ability to keep coming back. It's not about doing it perfectly, but about showing up, again and again, regardless of how easy or difficult it may seem at the time. By committing to the process, we gradually shift our relationship with our thoughts and emotions. Over time, we develop greater resilience and patience, and we begin to understand that meditation is not a performance to be perfected but a practice to be experienced. Rather than comparing ourselves to an idealized version of a perfect meditator, we can focus on the small, everyday choices that contribute to growth. Every time we sit to meditate, we are making a choice to cultivate peace and balance within ourselves. Each time we come back to the breath, we are training our minds to be more present, to engage with the moment as it is, not as we wish it to be. This focus on the journey, on the small moments of growth and learning, creates a more sustainable and fulfilling practice. The more we embrace the idea that the journey itself is the practice, the more we can let go of the pressure to be perfect. Meditation becomes less about achieving something and more about allowing ourselves to be. It becomes a practice of self-compassion, patience, and understanding. It's not about where we end up, but about who we become along the way. Through our commitment to showing up and engaging with the practice, we begin to experience deeper peace, clarity, and balance in our lives. And this, in turn, ripples out into our relationships, our work, and our world. The journey, after all, is where the transformation happens. In conclusion, meditation is not about achieving perfection or reaching a final goal. It's about the journey of showing up consistently, embracing vulnerability, and accepting whatever arises in our minds. The true power of meditation comes from being authentic and present, rather than chasing an ideal. As Jay Shetty reminds us, the practice is about developing a relationship with ourselves, not perfecting it. The real transformation happens in the small moments, the distractions, and the feelings of frustration. By focusing on the journey, we find peace, growth, and balance. Meditation is not about doing it perfectly, it's about showing up and embracing the process. Because when we stop chasing perfection, we make room for growth, for connection, and for presence. And that, my friends, is what meditation is really all about. Thank you.